Conscious collaboration brings together entrepreneurs, changemakers, and thought leaders. We aim to highlight the people that embody the idea of aligned mind, body, and business. Each week, we share, discuss, and learn from the various experiences and ideas of our guest experts. Through our discovery, we find a path to an aligned mind, body, and business.
Hi, guys. Welcome into the Conscious Collaboration. I'm Lisa.
And my name's Emily. And we are the Conscious Collaboration Podcast. We are missing our dear friend Michelle today, but she will be back with us. And so today, rounding out the trifecta, we do have a guest that I've been really excited to have with us. She is a friend of mine. Her name is Niajae Wallace. And she, like a lot of the people we roll with, wears about 1 million hats. But she is the owner of Bliss Meditation Studio in Tampa. And it happens to be the only place of its kind in all of Tampa Bay, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, Niajae?
That is correct. We are the first meditation studio in Tampa Bay.
Love that. And you are specializing in sound therapy, but a type of sound therapy that you've really worked on to become your own methods, and that is a somatic sound therapy technique. Is that right?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what that is, what that entails?
So any somatic practice is involving the body, so connecting the mind and body. So a lot of people are familiar with sound baths, and they are usually advertised as relaxation, but what I really want to focus on with this healing modality, somatic sound therapy, is connecting us back to our body, getting us back into our body to learn the wisdom our body is communicating to us. So learning how every tightness, every tension, every physical ailment actually has an emotional root cause, and connecting us back to our intuition through our body, because our intuition communicates to us through our body. So using sound therapy to access that internal wisdom that we all have.
Love that. And you have created a certification for your methods, right?
Yeah. So my first certification is a trauma-informed sound therapy practitioner certification. So it's really important that practitioners understand the trauma that can come up and be released in a session, and they have to have protocols to make sure that they're providing a safe environment mentally, physically, and emotionally for their clients. When I got certified, there were a lot of things that they didn't cover, like what happens if someone has an episode. And when I say an episode, like someone could start crying, but someone could actually have some like trauma come to the surface, and the practitioners have to know how to handle that.
Love that. And you also showed me something really cool when I went to visit the studio the other day, and that is a type of technology where you can actually visualize some different things that the chakras are doing. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we do an energy analysis. So it's a device called a BioWell. It's created by a Russian scientist that does research for Joe Dispenza. So it's really cutting edge technology. It's combining Kirlian photography, and I'm not sure if I'm saying that properly, but Kirlian photography with measuring the biophotons that are coming off your fingertips. It's really amazing.
Yes.
But it basically pulls up how energy is being dispersed in your body, and it shows you where your chakras are. So our chakras are constantly moving. It's energy. Energy is constantly moving. So what I do is I run 3 to 4 scans to take snapshots of where your chakras are, so we can see how they're rotating. We can see if they're rotating more in the masculine or more in the feminine, and it will show you where you need balance specifically for how your chakras are rotating, where you need balance to have a balanced life.
And then you can use that information and those visuals to guide like a private session of a sound bath, right? To see what that
Yes.
individual needs. Yeah. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
So if there's something blocked, if there's something that's not receiving enough energy, if there's something that's receiving too much energy, I'm able to create a private that's custom for what that client needs.
I love the combination, or taking the more esoteric and new agey stuff and being able to supplement it and back it up with science. I just love that. Lisa was using I don't want to say a similar, but also an energetically geared technology on me right before we started this podcast. So I'm geeking out on that right now. And then it's part of your certification to teach that technology to the practitioners.
I do. So the actual software is really, really detailed. It pulls up 7 different charts, and I don't focus on all 7. So I highly recommend, if anyone purchases the device, to get the certification through them to learn how it works. But then I teach specifically how I use it in my practice. So if another sound healer wanted to purchase this device, they understand like how I use it. So it definitely helps with client retention when people can actually see their progress, because, we can tell someone, make sure you get proper sleep, make sure you hydrate, do all these self-care things. But if they don't have a measuring stick to see like how it's actually benefiting them, they're going to be like, whatever, So this actually is able to give them a visual of the benefits of sound therapy and coming to a consistent sound bath and doing the inner work, doing the self-care. You can actually see how it's improving your energy.
Dope. Yeah. People like something they can see or feel, something tangible. So we've done a lot of episodes and conversation about the realities, both the good and the bad, of the first year in business. Do you want to talk a little bit about your first year in business? How is that going for you?
Oh man. So this business or my first business?
Well, so this business is the one that you're actually in the first year of, right? So
I started this specific business a year ago. Yes.
Nice. So it has not been without obstacles and a little bit of drama, but you're still hanging in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything, so let's put it this way. Is there any one piece of advice or insight that you would give someone who is starting up or thinking of starting up a business regarding that first year, like something that you wouldn't know unless somebody just told you?
Oh man, I literally can write a book on this.
Yeah, I bet.
I think that where I'm at right now is protect your creations. Protect your creations. It's really, really important to not only copyright your material, but also look into trademarks, because there's a lot of loopholes with copyrights and intellectual property right now, especially on social media. Is so easy to like copy people's stuff. And another part of that is have everything in writing, literally everything in writing, have everything in writing, because you can join into some type of collaboration or partnership and something go wrong. It happens. And a lot of times we don't go into it thinking that anything is going to go wrong, because we're like, oh my God, I'm working with this person. They're amazing. But you have to have everything in writing. And when I say everything, expectations, duties, communications, literally track everything in writing.
Well, it's kind of like that marriage partnership, right? Like you don't want to think that you're going to need the prenup, but you should probably.
Always have a prenup when it comes to business, like business marriages, like, because, business divorces, I actually talked about this on my podcast. Business divorces do happen, and it can be very, very messy if you don't have everything in writing. And even if you do have things in writing, it still is messy having to go back and review that. But if you are planning on growing any type of business, having the back end straight and solid is so ridiculously important. I think that we focus a lot on the external, how the website looks, how the social media looks. Am I
Mhm.
posting enough content? But if your back end isn't solid, you will regret it later. And I mean, it's
Mhm.
harsh to say, but I learned the lesson harshly. So I have
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
deliver it harshly.
No, that's exactly true. I think that's great advice.
Niajae, it's so interesting that you bring up the back end part of a business. And so in feng shui, we look at the energy of the earthly elements. And through the I Ching, it talks a lot about going back to the foundations. Without the foundations, you can't install your scaffolding to get to the next level and scale up. Without your foundations, you don't have
Yes.
anything to look to when something does go wrong. So oftentimes what we divine of the I Ching is telling us, don't do any of the outward, don't do any of the doing of things or the output. Focus more instead on really solidifying that foundational work. And it feels so uncomfortable when you're just starting out in those first couple years of business to take that time to create, to take that time to do the math. Right,
Mhm.
Emily? Is that like our favorite? Our favorite is doing the math.
The math is my favorite. Spelled
But
MAFF. I'm good at
yes.
math.
So I love that. I love that your advice is to always have that prenup and to have that solid foundation. Because I think when we're starting out in our first businesses, that's where we fall.
Hmm. Yeah, I can attest to that too. So another thing that we talk about a lot on this podcast, and it seems like just about everybody experiences it to some degree, regardless of how much experience they actually have. Do you deal with imposter syndrome?
I actually had a really intense, like, I like to sit with things. Like I
Hmm.
sat with the concept of imposter syndrome a lot lately. And I think it shows up on different levels for
Yep.
people.
Yep.
And I'm not someone who ever thought like, oh, I can't do this, or I'm not good enough, or I'm going to get exposed, or anything like that. My experience with imposter syndrome was trying to connect myself or align myself with established companies because I'm young, I'm Black, and I'm a woman.
Hmm.
And so it's a little different than the imposter syndrome that makes you feel like who am I to deserve this, or who am I to write a book, or who am I to start this business. It's a little different because I'm like, I have this knowledge, I have these skill sets, like I know I can do this. However, is society going to value me as much as I
Hmm.
feel I should be valued because I'm a woman, because I'm Black, and because I'm
Hmm.
young? And so I wanted to align with someone already established so people would take me a little more seriously. But that wasn't me believing fully in my skills and my knowledge and my expertise. And so I had to sit with it like, okay, it doesn't show up how a lot of people experience the insecurities. It's more of a societal programming that I had to overcome to fully believe in myself. Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think that's a great perspective on it, and how an example of how it can still show up, even albeit a little differently, in a person who has a really great established self-worth and self-confidence,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah. And I think back to my first, like one of my first studios. I had a dance and aerial studio before I got
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
sound therapy. And when I opened that studio, I was 25 at the time. And I thought
Wow.
that people won't take me seriously because I'm young. So I used to act as if I wasn't the owner, and I like worked at the studio. And it
Wow.
literally was the
Are
most
you
ridiculous
serious?
thing.
Oh
It was
my
the most
gosh.
ridiculous thing.
I
But
mean,
like
I
back
was dumb as
then,
hell when I was 25. That blows my mind. That's really,
so it
oh
just
no.
yeah, it just and so it wasn't that like, okay, I don't like, who am I to start this business? Like, that was never a thought. It was more like, are people going to take me seriously? You know, knowing that I own this studio, and I also look a lot younger than I am. So I, like, even when I was 25, I probably looked like I was like 18.
Yeah,
so
you do. Good.
even now, like, if I tell you my age, people think I'm like at least 10 years younger than what I am. So it was like, that was always my thing of like, I look a lot younger, and I'm also a woman. I also have purple hair, you know, like, I don't look like your typical business owner. So are they going to
Thank God.
value me?
Yeah.
So it was a lot of like reprogramming societal norms, and I'm a disruptor, you know what I mean? So we have business owners now that are women, that are younger, that are even older, or like have tattoos. Like, have you seen like business owners with a bunch of tattoos? And, you know, we have therapists with like mohawks and stuff like that. Like, we are disrupting the norms, but that process of like stepping into your power to disrupt the norm, it takes that deep inner work to overcome that imposter syndrome.
So looking back at that strategy now, the actually kind of becoming the imposter in order to get by, what do you think about that tactic now?
Oh my goodness. It was so ridiculous of me to do that at 25. But I understand why I did it. And I have so much compassion and acceptance for that version of myself. And I think that one of the most important things is to not have shame around whatever imposter syndrome you experience. If you don't experience some form of imposter syndrome, you're not setting goals high enough. Period. So having acceptance around it, because it's, if you're not experiencing some type of fear, then you're not setting goals high enough. It's literally part of the process of stepping into your power. So there shouldn't be any shame around imposter syndrome. That's what I needed to overcome to get to where I am and to be the woman that I am today.
I love that perspective. Don't you, Lisa?
Yeah, we talk a lot about this also as we're talking about the body too. So we talk about this in workouts when I'm hanging out with Emily in the gym. And there's that like fear if she tells me how much the weight is that I'm about to do. So I'll immediately have this like, oh my gosh, like I've never done this before.
Right. Like I haven't been deadlifting for 2 whole years.
Yeah. But, and then on the flip side, like when there's a little bit of ignorance or play or joy injected into it, I don't even notice when there's been extra weight or like Emily accidentally threw an extra plate on there.
Do we play during our workouts?
Oh, do we? I don't know.
Are we joyful at our workouts?
There needs to be a camera in there. And Niajae, is there a camera in there? Niajae, while you were talking too, I was thinking about meditation. And it's so widely accepted now that everyone has their meditation practice, their routines. And we know that's important to have in our lives to be able to really excel at a level that we all place upon ourselves. I mean, I think there's this like now that there's more of an awakening of the importance of mindset and that aspect of self-care. And it's so mainstream with Deepak Chopra and Oprah and everyone doing their programs out there. What is your best advice? And it's kind of like 2 parts. So there's self-practice with meditation, and there's different types of meditation. Which do you recommend to those who are just starting out, and perhaps even those who are business owners? Like what is the best practice that they can put into their lifestyle?
Well, I mean, obviously I own a meditation studio, so come to Bliss Bar.
Yes.
I'm definitely going to recommend that.
Is it group and personal?
Yes. Yes. So we do private sessions and we do group sessions. And my focus at Bliss Bar Meditation Studio is helping entrepreneurs and business owners avoid burnout. Now, if you're not in Tampa or you're not close enough to come into my studio or any yoga studio that offers sound therapy, I would definitely recommend a lot of journaling, and you can listen to meditations and listen to healing frequencies. There's a lot of apps like Insight Timer and Calm app that offer meditations. However, I do want to say it's really, really important for people to understand that meditation isn't, and this is my belief. There's going to be people that believe different things.
Sure,
My belief is meditation isn't necessarily about quieting your mind. That's like step 3. To me, step 1 is observing what's going on in your mind. So if you haven't spoken, I'll give you an example. If you haven't spoken to a friend in, let's just say 5 years, you're going to have so much to say, like so much catching up. And if you try to like shut the friend up, like, okay, we can't talk about this. Like, I need you to be quiet. That friend is going to be like, WTF. I don't know if I can curse on here. The friend is, the friend is going to be like, what is the deal here? Like you're trying to shut me up. So if you're just starting meditation and you haven't actually paid attention to what's going on in your mind, what it's saying, what it's communicating to you, what it needs you to hear, that process of trying to quiet your mind is going to be frustrating. So it's really important to understand, in my opinion, the first step is to observe what's going on in your mind and then make the decision, is this serving me? And then release what's no longer serving you. Then you have the quiet mind. And so to me, for someone just starting out in meditation, I don't have them come into my studio and say like, okay, let it all go. I'm like, no, pay attention to what's going on. Pay attention to what your body's communicating to you. Does your back hurt? Do you have a tight knee? Are your hamstrings tight? Like this is information. This is data that you need to feel your best. This is data that you need to be your best. And you have to pay attention to that. And if someone says, quiet your mind, you're not paying attention to the important data.
I love that. That resonates so much. And in fact, it's basically how I start every single one of my restorative yoga classes is first we just observe. I say without judgment, we just calm the breath and just turn all the energy inward and see what's going on. You got to check in and set baselines before we start making adjustments and doing things like that. So I love that.
Yeah, we live in a society that's constantly programming us to suppress, dismiss, and deny what we're feeling. And so reprogramming that programming that is no longer serving us.
Love that.
What are some of the biggest symptoms that you see or you hear from your clients when they come in as entrepreneurs, business owners? Are there any 3 symptoms that show up or expressions that they share with you from their experience that you realize is something that needs to be addressed?
Yeah. So definitely anxiety is the highest thing. A lot of people with high anxiety, but we live in such a fast-paced world. We're inundated with information. So we're going at a rapid pace. Society's programming us to go, 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 hustle, grind. And so there's a lot of anxiety. So calming that anxiety, letting people know that like you're exactly where you're meant to be. You're not missing out on anything. We live in a FOMO society. So definitely anxiety is the highest thing that people come in with. Lower back pain, which is our root chakra. So that's our foundation. That's our stability. That's our safety. After the pandemic, obviously a lot of people are struggling with their root chakra. And now people talking about a recession, a lot of people are struggling with their root chakra. So lower back pain is definitely something else that's very common. And then I would say like heart and throat chakra, when I do the energy analysis, usually when something's weighing on someone's heart, like you can see there's a massive imbalance in the heart chakra, their throat chakra is overactive because there's energy being lodged there because they're not honoring and expressing what's on their heart. So the energy gets lodged in their throat. Throat chakra is overactive, so that can cause a number of different problems, but it also blocks energy from our third eye. So there's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of indecision, there's a lot of like self-doubt, like questioning yourself and not trusting your intuition because your intuition isn't receiving enough energy because everything's lodged in your heart and throat because you're not really honoring whatever is weighing on your heart. So those are probably the top 3 things that I see when people come in.
Yeah,
I love that so much.
Sense.
Yeah. I can't wait to hear what listeners have to say about their own experiences. We do a lot of talk about aligning our mind, body, and our businesses. So our businesses being an extension of our of ourselves in some way. And of course, we happen to be in businesses that are easily, somewhat of a more esoteric or spiritual level, being, I'm a feng shui master, and Emily has incorporated that into her work. But certainly, this can apply to anyone in any type of service or consultancy or product development. We really find in a lot of our conversations, being in a alignment allows for the ideas to flow through you. So to come to you so that you're receiving. So when you're in your best alignment, it's not as much of a struggle. Do you see that as well?
Oh, totally. And one thing I do want to say about that is alignment is, I almost want to say alignment as a lifestyle, but it's a consistent thing. So it's not like you get into alignment and then you're just in
done.
alignment.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a consistent thing. So having practices that bring you back when life takes you out. So totally, like when everything's aligned and everything's flowing through your body in the way that it's meant to, you have more creativity, you have more energy, you have more joy, you have more passion. And when you find that like everything feels tight and tense, that's because it's out of alignment. So when you feel more liberated and flow and joy and bliss, that's definitely where we should be, but it's having the practices to bring us back to that place.
Yeah, I love that you say that it's like a lifestyle or a practice. It's like working out to maintain a strong, healthy body. You don't just get there and then be like, okay, I'm done. Like I don't have to work out anymore. You still show up, and it's part of your life forever.
I'm a little dramatic when I give examples to my clients. I say it's like showering. If you want to maintain good hygiene, you have to shower every day, right?
That's true. Yeah. I think you got to present it a little dramatic sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much more to life than just having your nails done and your hair done. Like that outer game. There's so much.
Lashes are very important, though.
Lashes, I won't.
Lashes.
I'm not saying these are not important things, ladies. But having that inner game up to par is what's going to create the longevity. So let's talk about the joy and the play. So what I'm hearing a lot of dipping into the imbalance of business, and you're talking about the grind and then the anxiety and all of that. Let's talk about the importance of instilling joy and practices that allow you to play into your life, and how can we integrate those and into more harmonious relationship.
Yeah. Oh my God, this is so good. I found myself in a process of not focusing on the things that bring me joy in my business. And it's the fastest way to burn out. Mm-hmm. It is literally the fastest way to burn out. So creativity is attached to joy, and that excitement is attached to joy. So we have to do the things that bring us joy. And when you get deep into business, it can seem like, okay, I don't have time for this. I don't have time to play. I don't have time to be creative. And you get into that monotonous routine that steals the passion that you had in the beginning for starting the business. It steals it away. So it's really, really important that you set aside, just as important as the back end. So I feel like focus on the back end and then focus on the joy, and like all the other stuff in between, like you can worry about that later, but it's really, really, really important that you're doing something honestly on a daily basis that brings you joy. So I like to watch the sunset. Like that's something, like beauty inspires me. Like that really gives me joy. And I did this exercise and I talked about it on my podcast, 30 days of joy, like committing to doing something that brings me joy every single day, even if it's 5-10 minutes, but committing to something that brings me joy, because joy activates our inner child, and children are creative. And if you are an entrepreneur, like a business owner, you have to have creativity. So if we are not connecting with that playfulness and that joy, we're going to feel stifled. We're not going to have great ideas. We're not going to have ideas that are really going to make a big impact in our business and in the world. So joy is so ridiculously important.
Yes.
And it's just so compelling too. It's even just to hear someone in a place of joy talk about anything is so much more compelling and attractive. Mm-hmm. And it's something that lights you up from within. Yeah. And I think it's something that, we think, okay, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm going to work around the clock, 80 hours, and pouring all of that in there. And what you're doing is diluting what brought you to doing starting your business in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to say, I feel like there is a lot of judgment around joy. You know, we have self-judgment of like, okay, I'm an entrepreneur. I can't be doing this. Like I can't do this because I need to be doing this, you know, as a business owner, I need to be doing this. There's so much judgment. There's literally so much judgment, and we actually cap our joy. So a lot of people are programmed to wait for the other shoe to drop. So if I get too excited, if I get too happy, if I get too joyful, if I get too playful, it's like we cap it and we're like, oh no, let me not be too excited or I'll jinx it. There's so much programming. So really understanding your capacity for joy is important, and expanding to allow more joy and play in.
And most of that judgment probably is self-imposed, at least like 75% of it, I would imagine. Niajae's podcast, by the way, is called Abundance Hacks. Lots of good topics on there. So you should definitely check that out. And then I wanted to peel back a layer and take this conversation a little bit in a little bit different direction than we normally go on this show. Full disclosure, Niajae and I and another friend and fellow yoga teacher and sound therapist went out for a completely joyful recreational night out the other night. And I just keep saying it was the happy hour that turned into 12 hours. And I am not mad about it at all. But one of the themes that we were definitely discussing and encountering and testing out during our night out was just the idea of dating as a single, obviously, female entrepreneur, and the ins and outs and ups and downs of that. One of the common themes that segues off of a lot of what we talk about within business, you know, kind of being mindful of that ebb and flow and making sure that you're in your feminine energy just as much as we tend to be in that masculine forward moving energy as business women. But that can then carry over into dating, right? How do you see that playing out?
Oh my goodness. I feel like this topic is like, oh my God. So one thing I will say is
let's
dating.
Just go there. Let's go there.
Yeah. Let's
maybe
dive
we'll
right
teach
in.
somebody.
So for me personally, it's been extremely difficult dating, extremely difficult. So, you know, you have certain men that are intimidated by women who are business owners, women who speak their mind, women who are not like people pleasers. So I am very like, this is what I want. This is who I am. And that is challenging for a lot of men that are not in their divine masculine. And then you have men that are successful and also business owners, but it seems they want more of a submissive woman. And so submissive doesn't always equate to feminine. So like to me, feminine and submissive can be two different things.
Yes.
And so yeah, there's so many layers, but what's really funny is when I do energy analysis for couples, I've seen more often where the woman is completely in her masculine, like her chakras are operating in her masculine, and the man is operating completely in their masculine. Excuse me. The woman's completely in her masculine and the man's completely in his feminine. And to me, okay, on the surface, that probably works because, you know, roles are reversed, but in my personal opinion, are they truly happy? Because you can tell the woman is craving to be in her feminine. Like she wants to be more in her feminine. And I mean, I think that guys, and I don't think that it's kind of like guys just like don't care about being in their divine masculine. I think that there's so many so many things that have happened in the world, like the Me Too thing, where now men are actually scared to step up and scared to do certain things because it's like, well, I want to respect a woman because she has the right to be independent, and I want to make sure I'm not crossing her. And like, there's so many layers, but in my opinion, the bottom line is like, we have to shift some shit because the women being too much in their masculine, like, yes, I'm a business owner. Yes, I take action. Yes, I know who I am. I know what I want. I know what I need. And I also want to be catered to. I also want to be adored. I also want to be cherished and experience chivalry and courting. Like, I want
pursued.
all of that.
Yeah.
And pursued. Yes. Open the door for me. Open the car door for me. Bring me flowers. Like, I want all of those things. Just because I'm a business owner doesn't mean I don't want those things. And I want a man that can provide. Like, can I provide for myself? Yes. But I also want a man that could provide. So it's this like, it's this weird energy, I feel like right now, where things are so reversed that it's like very, very wonky. And I think that ultimately a man should be in his divine masculine and a woman should be in her divine feminine. And we all have masculine and feminine energy, but knowing when we should be in which, and being able to shift, like, when I go home, okay, I'm done with business. I'm done taking action. When I go home, now I want to put on something sexy and really get in my feminine energy. So making sure that you have that balance. And I don't think that a lot of people have that balance these days.
Yeah. I think it's missing in a lot of places. And I think that at the core of a lot of it, not always, but I think that at the core of a lot of it is like just issues with self-worth. On both the masculine and the feminine side, feminines being too much in their masculine because for protective sort of reasons, and, lots of dynamics for the other way around as well. But it makes for a really challenging dating scenario.
So tell me, as 3 business owners going out in the wild the other night, what were the dynamics like? Like, did you sense that men were picking up on your feminine or like masculine energy, and what kind of conversations resulted?
I think we were very much in our feminine. We were magnetic as hell. That was the word that I kept thinking of. I mean, people were very attracted to us, and I think they were good people for the most part. It wasn't like a predatorial vibe, but what did come up was, and thankfully it was in much more of a joking way this time around than back in the day when my old roll dog, her name is Rachel. We used to go out all the time, and we sort of had to come up with this social experiment to figure out how to most effectively ward off unwanted attention from men. And so the technique that we found that was most effective back in the day was if you just scream at them. Because sort of saying like, oh, my friend here is my partner definitely doesn't work. Saying you have a boyfriend doesn't work. That makes them tend to go harder. Even kind of like being gross didn't really work, like burping or something like that. They just like, okay, well, we're in a club, whatever. So in a really hilarious turn of events, we started just screaming at people, and they would be like, what the fuck? And then just, run away. I later found out from Shahar, who was a previous guest on the show, that that's actually a technique called the blowfish effect, where you just do something really crazy or stupid or funny. And, that kind of takes the person off their game for just long enough to escape, so to speak. But we were having some fun with that on Friday night and came up with some additional techniques having to do with barking or, movie quotes from Anchorman.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That's a fun game.
I saw a meme the other day too about like crying over a book and how there aren't enough books in the world Did I send you guys that one?
I feel like
You
I saw
sent it
that.
to me.
There's so much,
Yeah.
there's so much good therapy in sharing memes back and forth. I will say that. If that's not an approved or certification right now, meme therapy, it should be one. I might have just
Ooh,
coined it right now. So you're welcome, whoever
that's our
came up
next
with
$1
this
million idea. Yes.
But you know what? When you were talking, I was thinking like, so there's an intention when we take off our business hat and we're going out for happy hour, we're going on a date. There's this intention. What are some things that men and women can do to get back to their correct energy, their personal
Yeah.
energy?
Yeah.
I think that one of the things I feel like it's simple, but one of the things that I think is really important is for men to take action.
Mm-hmm.
Ask the woman out, because we have dating apps. Guys are not used to stepping into that, like, I'm going to ask this woman out thing anymore, because it's very like swipe and, like, let's grab drinks. But I really think men need to take action, like ask the woman out, go up to the woman. Like, they don't have to necessarily go. And we did have some guys come up to us when we went out, but it's not something that it is as common these days as it used to be before we had dating apps. So take action, and then also have follow through. So to me, follow through sits in our solar plexus. If you don't have a solid solar plexus, you're going to be a little more flimsy. So really standing in your power and having follow through. If you are going to pursue a woman, like, ask her out, make a plan, follow up, and follow through. And I think that we're in such a time where it's like, oh, I don't really care. It is what it is. And so if the plan doesn't go through, or I don't hear from her, or she doesn't text me back fast enough, I'm just going to get back on Bumble, Tinder, Hinge, whatever it is, and swipe some more and find someone else, so there's literally there's no follow through. There's no like solid action. And for me, I'm like, I need solid action. Like, make a plan, make a plan, follow up. Like, hey, are we still going? Like, where are we going? Time. Like, I need a man to be a man.
And that's representative too of an ultimate commitment.
Yeah.
If you can't commit to planning one date, then what does that say for future endeavors,
Yeah. And so I think that because men haven't been stepping up to do that, then the women step up to do that, but then they're in their masculine. And I don't think that that's how it should be. I really think that men should pursue women. And I think that women should be courted, and women should be, like swept off their feet. Like, I'm a hopeless romantic. Like, sweep me off my feet. Like, that's how it should be. We need that back. Like, we need the romance back.
I hear that, and mine's a little more crude, I guess, but my saying that I've been saying is like, from now on, I will only be hunted. So it is what it is.
A man in his divine masculine is a hunter.
Wants
period.
That. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so for women, when they're shifting back into their dating or their relationship life outside of work, our practices look a little bit different. Are there any that are your favorite? You mentioned like getting dressed up and is there anything mindset wise too that needs an inner shift?
Yeah, I think that one of the words that you said was magnetic. So focusing on your energy, it's going to call in that divine masculine. So really, I think just having a practice of like really loving on yourself. So whatever that looks like for you to make you feel feminine and sensual and sexy, do that. So for me, I like to put on some Beyonce and twerk in the mirror.
Yes. That's a great self-care practice.
I mean, I personally love lingerie. Like, even if I am just home alone, like just me, like just for me to feel sexy, I buy myself roses once a week. So having my roses, it just makes me feel like a woman. It makes me feel sensual. It makes me feel just, like in love with life. And that's going to make you magnetic to what you want to actually call in.
Yes, that's that Empress energy.
Yeah, I mean, and likewise too, it should be repelling of those who aren't a good fit.
Well, I haven't been repelling enough though. So I'm like, I don't know if it
start barking, you know the drill.
That's the backup plan.
So you would think it would repel, but you know that they say like moths are drawn to the flame. So you're gonna actually attract both. You're gonna attract the divine masculine, and you're also gonna attract the toxic masculine, just because they're like, oh, okay, like that light, that energy, it's gonna attract both. Unfortunately, like it's my harsh truth, because I've attracted some really damaged men, and I've also attracted, really amazing men. So I think being solid in who you are and knowing what you want and what you desire and what you need and sticking to that. And when you see the signs, believe them the first time. Believe them the first time, and don't think you can change them, because oh my God, that's been my toxic pattern.
Stop it.
Yep, that's my toxic pattern. I think I can change them.
Discernment skills has been a big lesson, I think. So that you let people in, right? You act as that receptive feminine. You let everyone in, and then I've never really used this saying before, but you sort the wheat from the chaff, right? You figure out what's good for you and what's not, and then you only keep what is aligned.
Yeah, we've talked about that, and I know we're coming to a great end and closure here, and all of these great topics. And I feel like we need to have a part 2 and 3. But we talk about the idea and collaboration of that garden that you create of extended family, and who are you going to allow into your energy. So we do a lot of talk about, occasionally you're going to have to de-weed your garden.
Yeah,
occasionally.
Totally. Isn't it just weeding your garden?
Do what?
A thing? Isn't it just weeding your garden? Don't you just weed it?
Yeah, you weed it, or do you de-weed it? But then you said weed, and my mind went like another direction.
Yeah. Did somebody say weed?
So however you want your garden to look.
Yes.
It's going to be bountiful. You want to make sure, especially as you are cultivating a business, that you have the right energy around you, the right counsel. And that goes as far as your personal relationships and your dating, because that seeps into whatever you're putting into your client experiences or your product development or creativity. So thank you so much for being here too. I wrote down so many good topics. Just to highlight a few of them, as we were talking about mind and body, we were talking about always having a prenup as well.
Yes.
In a business. So that's really great advice, in protecting your creations, and trademarking and committing to joy. Always remembering why we started doing what we're doing. And I think also just weeding our garden.
Weeding or de-weeding. We're not really sure.
Niajae, do you have any last insights or anything that just came to your mind that you would like to leave our listeners with?
Allow in the abundance. So my podcast is Abundance Hack. I talk about living an abundant life. Allow it in. Like, abundance is literally all around us. We just have to allow it in. And a lot of times we're blocking it because we're not seeing where we have resistance to the things we actually want. So just allow in the abundance.
Love that. That's that feminine receptive energy. So we're going to have, Abundance Hacks is her podcast. We're going to have all of Niajae's links in the show notes. And as always, please drop us a line, be it in our email or in our DMs on Instagram. If you have any questions for us or Niajae, we will certainly relay them to her and get back to you. And I guess we'll wrap it up from there. So thank you again, Niajae. This was super fun, and I hope we get to do it a bunch more times.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. All right, guys. And
much fun. Well, we'll probably all talk again in 5 minutes.
Talk to you in 5 minutes. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank y'all so much for listening to our podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends so they can join our circle of collaboration on this journey. You can find us on Instagram at Conscious Collaboration Podcast, on Spotify, iTunes, and Audible, to name a few. Please join us next time for another deep dive into how you can live life in more alignment, mind, body, and business. Send us your questions and comments in our DMs or email us at consciouscollaborationpodcast@gmail.com. See you in 5 minutes.